left off yesterday. So if you're looking at kind of review, one of the examples given yesterday with challenges with giving red flags and stuff like that was by Chaz, because Chaz recognized at that point, sometimes it's hard to give that red flag when you're a part of the problem. Maybe you didn't give clear, concise instructions. Maybe you didn't provide the activity. So that's part of getting to know you. It starts with, what's your involvement, getting to know your hot buttons, getting to know how you handle things like what's your first reaction, your gun first reaction. So acknowledging that. One of the things that is my overall goal, and I'm hoping it comes across on how I'm training you, is intentional behavior goals for campers are needed. You need to view misbehavior as an opportunity to teach the campers self-control and character, and how to behave in a fashion so they can belong in our program, school, and with their peers, and later in the workforce. This is my whole overall goal. This is what I'm training you to be able to do. Because hot buttons and those types of things, when those get set off, are you thinking, what things does my camper need to learn on self-control and character development? Nope. You just got your hot button pushed and you're mad and you want them to be obedient as to what you said and to do it immediately. So you need to recognize that in order to also deactivate and de-escalate yourself to make all these lessons and opportunities for self-control and character development. If you guys call me and say, I had to give out a purple slip, we don't know what to do. Sometimes I get those calls at 5:30 and we're talking it through and I say, well, what happened? What set them off? And then you have to go back and you have to talk and then you come back and talk to me. That's what we need to do. I want you guys to kind of be able to gather that information when you see a discipline situation and bring it back and talk to me. If you see a group of kids misbehaving, I want you to be able to assess the situation and figure out, is it something that I need to do, or is it something that the kids need to be able to extend their wait time? If they need to be able to manage their self-control? Do they need to understand that it's disrespectful when someone is talking to talk? So you have to figure out what the core lesson is in there, and then open-end question them to lead to that themselves. If you just tell a kid, now you need to apologize for hurting her. You just told them. They've learned nothing. It's kind of like what Rachel gave the example of getting the kid to repeat. That was my second warning. Kids hear that all the time. It's like buzzwords. And when they're in fight or flight, or if you're looking at them, they're going to do whatever they think they need to in order to get out of it. What's the problem? I hurt her. What do you need to do differently? Not hurt her. They will give you the answers that you are looking for, but if you're looking to make changes to prevent it, you have to get them more. You have to get more. How do you do that? What words? I need you to kind of extend it into that. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunity and times you need to be able to acknowledge and recognize. If this is a student you've had this conversation with, and not only that, but Tim's had the conversation, James had the conversation, Kate's had the conversation with this kid knows what he's supposed to be doing. At this point, we need to get some buy-in and figure out what's going on. It's either going to be a behavior plan or it's going to be like, dude, you know what you're supposed to be doing right now. And then it's like you get your routine. My big thing is when I know the kids have already been like that, and if they're disrespectful and they say something, like a lot of time when I'm leading a large group and they give an example and it's very inappropriate, I'll be like, try again. I don't need to go through, why was that inappropriate? What were you supposed to be doing? They know it. So then try again and fix it. And if they have a meltdown at that point and can't do it, then you maybe need to have a more conversation, because clearly they're not aware of what they're supposed to be doing. But if you say try again and then they say it correctly, then it's more of a conversation of how do you control that? How are you going to stop from doing that? You cannot blurt out inappropriate things at these times. What's our plan? And then try and figure that out. So otherwise, if you're disciplining for blurting out by saying every time you blurt out, you're going to red flag, you've not given him a plan or her a plan in order to fix it. So you've got to get to the core of it. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to train you to recognize yourself and then be able to observe that situation in order to help them learn self-control and character development. Most misbehavior is lack of self-control. or not understanding the impact and can't, like an immature social development. 3rd and 4th grade, the kids are starting to kind of say sassy things and stuff, but they can't gauge your facial expression. They don't look at each other, they don't understand when they cross the line. Because what they're saying is something that probably someone has said to them, or they say to other kids, or other kids say to him, and they're right. And that's when you get caught in a crappy situation when they're like, well, they said it to me all the time, and they do this. Yes, but that was, you know, your 3rd or 4th thing, and the kid's face was starting to kind of like, oh, this isn't fun anymore. That's why. It's not necessarily what you said, it's, did you see their face? Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to teach them those things. You can't just consequence out social development. You can't just consequence out. You have to find the root of it and be the role model for them. It's more than just discipline. It's more than just guidance if you want it to change. Otherwise, and that's creating your vibe. So you're trying to set up your vibe. One of the first things that you have to work on first, your friend versus authority figure balance. Some people, this comes very naturally. Some people doesn't. I've seen people be more authority, and I've seen people be too much friend. You have to be able to straddle the line and find that balance. And you have to keep yourself in check. Because let me tell you, there are downfalls, and it's hard to come back if you go either way. If you are too authority figure, now you're the disciplinarian and you're the punisher. Nobody wants to play with you, you're not fun, that's the way it is. And then what happens then is now you are the disciplinarian and everyone else is the fun guy. And now that's your job. That sucks. And that's hard to give the power back to your coworkers, and it's hard to not always be that person. If you're too much the friend, your staff hate you because you are of no help. You are a body at that point because the kids don't listen to you and they don't do anything. So you can't be too much of the friend. You also are no impact with the campers. Kids don't look to you. You think by being their friend that they're gonna come talk to you. If you're the fun guy, they're not gonna come talk to you if there's something serious going on. They don't trust that you can handle it. They're not gonna come to you if something's going on at home or if someone is bullying them because you're friends. They don't tell their little peer friends when something's going on. You have to be the mentor. You have to be the teacher. Whatever terminology I can give you to get you to understand that. So in my mind, I think of people immediately in my head of who I try to follow and guide in the sense of that were my mentors. Do you guys have mentors in your heads that you can kind of follow that? They were fun. They occasionally had a good time with you, but you trusted them because they had expectations for you. Coaches have expectations for you and are hard on you at times, but it's to improve and change you. But you're still their friend. You still go to them. Does that make sense? Teachers, and if you have a sweet advisor that you have, that you work with or whatever, that you're like, here's where I'm going, what's going on? And they can joke around with you, but also be like, no, you gotta pull that grade up. What are you doing? That's that balance. Could be your parents, could be supervisors, it could be anyone. That's what you want to be. You can still have a good time. I play the games with the kids. I am involved in water fights. I'm involved in a lot of different activities. That's the friend. I also lead. I make sure that they're safe, and I make sure that I make eye contact, get down on their level. I'm their friend. But you have to make sure that you're both. And you have to be able to call each other out if you're going one way or the other, and you have to be able to recognize in yourself if you're going too far. So, look, I just summarized that all in my head. Or actually out loud. Rule setting. Here's another thing. And this is what I'm hoping when you guys set up your rooms that you can go through. So when you're setting up your whatever zone, then you should be able to talk about what the expectations are in there. Because that way, when you let the kids go into the large motor room over there, has a gaga pit, a foursquare, a rock wall, an air hockey table, and a foosball table. Fun guy or strict person? You have to have the same rules and expectations, and you have to do the same way. Otherwise, in a quick hurry, the kids are going to be like, well, so-and-so let us do it this way. We can climb on this. They said it's okay. Nope. You all have to have the same rules. You all have to follow the same expectations. You all have to do that to help each other out. So it's space rules and regulations. It's when you go off site. Bus drivers, you're in charge of the buses. Lifeguards, you're in charge of the waterfronts. You guys have rules and expectations, but they have to be the same. Because when we come together on All Camp Friday, if we have different lifeguard rules, we can realize in a quick hurry, and she gets really, really mad. So we all have to have the same rules and the same expectations. One group cannot be different in that sense. And then, environment. So, we're all in the same environment and we're all doing different things. And let's say we're pumping out purple slips all the time out of the large motor room. Is it the kids' misbehavior? Is it the kids' fault? What are some things that might be the problem in the large motor room? Yes?
There's too many kids in there.
Too many kids. So number of kids we can evaluate. What else?
Number of staff.
Are there enough staff? Excellent. What else?
Well, how can we?
Yeah.
The way the room's set up.
The way the room is set up, is there something that we can evaluate? One of my favorite examples was from Putnam quite a few years ago, where we evaluated the site and this kid was always getting in trouble at the Lego table, constantly, all the time. What are you doing? Put your feet on the ground. What are you doing? Kid was short. The tables are this high, and then they have the attached seats, those circle ones. You couldn't see in the bucket. So he's constantly standing on the seat in order to see in the bucket. How is he supposed to get his Legos if he can't see what he's doing? So we're giving him red slips left and right for behavior of like, we'll put a carpet on the ground and move the Lego. Boom, problem solved. Seriously? Maybe there's this group of kids at the Legos all the time. Because there's one freaking Lego man and they're fighting about it constantly. So we buy more Lego men. And then we're done. It's the one piece that everybody wants, the window or the wheel. Okay, so let's get more. And now we don't have the problem and they're still playing and they're doing well. So sometimes it's not the child, it's not the misbehavior, it's what that is telling us. So you need to acknowledge that. Which side is it that flipped the recess and snack? Yeah, Montessori and, okay. When you do that, like, it's something so simple. Now you have, like, we can do this. So, and Montessori, we ended up having to dish out individualized snacks to some of the students because the parents are paying for snack. But the parents are okay with that if we explain it and we communicate and build those relationships. So read your environment. When you're setting up your environments next week, know the rules and think about, are the kids gonna can they stay busy? Are these engaging activities? What can we do to make them popular? And what can we do to control them? We're gonna have to come up with rules as a team, a whole adventure camp on how to handle that room. We're gonna have to come together as a team for Discovery Camp and talk about like the transition classroom and what's going on there. So we wanna make sure that we kind of work together to set up the environment. This is all pre-work and work that we have to evaluate from just one discipline. So in order to do discipline and growing kids social-emotionally, you have to evaluate all of those things. So it's a change, it's a mind shift. It's kind of a hard one, so that's what I'm trying, that's why I keep saying I need you guys to think about this stuff when you're with the kids. So my request today is that you think about your environment, think about those things, and be able to report back with something. I thought about it this differently. Even if it's not like something that you changed, you're like, huh, that's why that works really well. Huh, I wonder, that's why it's set up that way. Do you know what I'm saying? I want you to kind of make that more conscious effort, because that's the start of being able to discipline and guide kids correctly. Because then that also shifts the focus on, it's not a bad kid, it's a bad behavior, or it's something that we need to work on. It's not saying that kid is a bad kid, it's saying this is the behavior we need to change, and then we're gonna be okay. And then if you can talk about the behavior that needs to be changed, instead of talking about the kid, how do you think the parents are gonna relate better? Do you think they're gonna be as defensive once they recognize that you're not talking about their kid being bad? They're going to have that more of a communication in the sense of how can we change that behavior, and you're on the same side. Anytime you talk about a person's kid, it immediately, a parent comes from, it's you against them. And if you can shift that to make that a parallel, where you're along the same side and you both have the same goal, you're golden. And that's how I try and train you guys to think in the sense of communicating with parents. If you come talk to me and you're like, I gotta talk to this parent, I'm gonna try and give you words, I'm gonna try to give you different scenarios, I'm gonna try to give you different things in order to put yourself in that parallel place to come and coincide. Okay? All right. Can you pause that?